Choosing between cardio and weights is what's sabotaging your fat loss. Most men get this completely wrong. They chase what they think is the best fat burning exercise, blah, 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 blah. Here's the truth. Shredding fat has nothing to do with if you're doing cardio or weights. By the end of this video, you'll know the best way to burn fat. You'll know how cardio and weights affect this and which one of the two to pick if you're short on time. You'll be able to transform your physique for good. And look, if you stay till the end, I'll even tell you about the biggest mistake guys make when they do cardio or weights. Okay, so imagine I'm a sculptor and I have this mound of clay, of stone, maybe even instant noodles. I'm obviously trying to shape something. It's not just about removing clay, stone, noodles. I've got this vision of what's underneath. When I first start, I'm going to form this sculpture by removing these huge chunks. I'm not too concerned with the little details. Now, as I continue to chip away, I need to use a smaller tool. I have to start chipping at the facial expressions, at the muscle tone. I need to start putting this together properly. Now, this is very similar with fat loss. Cardio is great for removing those huge chunks, but we need weight to make those tiny little definitions. I see guys looking at it as if it's an either or. They got to get rid of this fat or they need to build some muscle, but these should be done at the same time. When you separate the two, you just end up with a much longer and honestly demotivating journey. Imagine you go through all this time to remove all this fat and then what you're left with at the end is just a really skinny, non-muscular physique. That'd probably suck. Something you can do though is if you put aside 45 minutes, even just 4 times a week, you can go grab the workout in the description and just follow that. That will ensure you're hitting both of those dots. So there are 2 levers. We have the big hammer and the small hammer. And I guess there's a third hammer that appears when you hit that subscribe button. So why can we pick cardio? Why should we pick cardio? Well, with cardio, you're able to eat more. You might be someone with a huge appetite and it's just not working without having that extra amount of cardio, which is going to burn all those calories, letting you have more food in the day. It also lets you easily burn more. It's very, very doable to dial up the cardio and have it be low intensity. But if you're trying to dial up the strength training, the weights, you're not really getting anything good from that. You'd only get a detriment. Now, adding cardio also makes you feel more energetic. As you're building up your cardiovascular system, you feel like you can go on runs randomly or you can get out of bed instantly. And when you have more energy in your day, it's no surprise that things that are going to take time, take effort, which are going to contribute to your, dream physique, are going to be that much easier and that much more motivated to do. You're also improving your heart. And now I know it's not a big concern for many people, but you kind of want that to be pumping, efficiently and for as long as possible. At least I'd say I do. And it's also keeping up this daily habit. Let's say you did just do a short 5 or 10 minute run every single day. That is kind of structured in day after day after day after day. You're expecting that, you're looking forward to it. Maybe some days you aren't, but you feel good you accomplished it. Honestly, when we look at weights, there is no doing it every day sort of thing. It is something we apply on specific days and you follow a plan. And sometimes when you haven't been in a while, you start to think, man, it's been 2 days since my last workout. I don't know if I want to go to this next one. And that's not something we want. But another thing which is really interesting about doing cardio is it actually makes you have a lower appetite. I know that sounds strange, but when you burn the extra calories, it triggers something in your body which doesn't want you to eat it back, or at least not at a entire effect. So like where you're eating more than you actually burn, which is really great when you're trying to burn that fat. Okay, and why weight? Well, one of the best things about weights, especially when you're losing fat, is as you're losing fat and losing weight, weight training will actually stimulate that muscle. And what it will do is it will pull from those fat reserves to use that energy to build more tissue. So as you're losing weight and losing fat, you kind of get this additional fat loss by building this new tissue onto your body, which is pretty awesome. Now, a lot of people believe that this isn't something you're able to do when you lose weight, but you honestly can. The second you're adding weight, the second you're adding reps, and you look at yourself getting stronger, that means you're building more muscle. And it doesn't matter how much weight you're losing. If you're consistently building that muscle and you're kind of from a beginner place where you've never really done strength training before, you will actually be putting tissue on. It might make no sense in your head where you're like, how can I lose something and gain something at the same time? But these two processes, they're not either or. It just is the case where building muscle is, very difficult to do when you're losing fat, but it's not impossible. It is something you can actually do. And a cool thing about having that more muscle when you're trying to lose fat is this muscle will make you burn more calories. Just because it's metabolically active and it is more metabolically active than fat, you will end up burning more day by day, even if you were doing nothing, which is going to be helpful for your journey. Now, you also don't have to lose as much weight as you would if you were just doing cardio, because you have this muscle now, which means, let's say you had 60 kilos of muscle before, now that you have 65, your goal of getting to 70 kilos probably could be bumped up to 75, for instance. Now, that's not exactly the right numbers to use. I'm just pulling out of my head. But it means you don't have to diet as much to get to a place where you're actually comfortable with how you look. Now, these two levers, in order to use them, we do have to actually attach some redstone. So, I don't know if any of you guys know Minecraft, but this is where the next thing comes in. Now, the redstone is attached from this net calorie difference. So you can now this redstone is attached based on the net calorie difference. So we can either have extra energy or lower energy. See, if you're doing cardio, you need there to be a calorie deficit to lose fat. Otherwise, you're just staying at the same point. The interesting thing is when we have weights, you don't actually need to be in a calorie deficit to lose that fat, because you are drawing from the fat to build more muscle. So at the end of the day, if you're trying to lose fat, you probably should be in that deficit. But if you're adding on to that weights, then that is just this amplifier, this booster. It's going to make you feel amazing. It's going to make you look better at the end. And all in all, is something we should not be skipping out on. If I was given the option of picking only cardio or only weights, and I want to achieve this goal where I want to burn as much fat as possible, I probably want to look as good as possible, I'm picking weights 10 times out of 10. That's what's actually going to get me to my dream. The interesting thing about strength training too, is there is a mild cardio boosting effect. So let's say you're doing cardio, you're not really going to build muscle from that. But if you're picking weights, you are challenging the cardiovascular system. If you do a heavy set of squats and you're pushing yourself, your heart starts beating, your body starts adapting and getting a better lungs, getting better veins, getting better heart. Not to the same level as doing actual cardio would, but it's still making those positive changes and that positive impact on your life. But at the end of the day, make sure these two levers are connected with redstone. Don't pull one at a time. They need to both be running at the same time, especially if you're trying to get where I know you're trying to get. Wield both of these levers and burn as much fat as possible. You literally only need to give this 45 minutes a day. Just as I promised earlier, there is a huge mistake people do make, and that is actually limiting their muscle growth because they end up doing too much cardio or doing cardio in the wrong place. So this kind of would be something where, imagine you're doing so much cardio, literally like over 2 hours, it's going to start breaking down that muscle. People don't really go that hard, so let's talk about the other side of the coin, doing it in the wrong time. See, when you're doing a workout, when you're hitting those weights, you want to be as fresh as possible to have the best possible recruitment of your muscles, right? And if you've done cardio before that session, when you end up doing your workout, you're fatigued. You're already weaker than you should be, and you're not able to build as much muscle or stimulate as much muscle. So that's a big mistake guys walk into. And especially in a deficit where your energy levels are a little bit lower, making that mistake can be just, annihilating a ton of possible progress. So do not do that. Other mistakes people make is they turn their weights into a sort of circuit where they don't take rest breaks. They go from exercise to exercise to exercise to exercise, back to exercise one. And the idea here is you can get your heart pumping the entire time whilst building muscle, but it doesn't make any sense, right? Keep cardio as cardio, keep strength as strength. If we mix the two, we just end up getting bad cardio and bad strength, and it doesn't make any sense. Sure, kill two birds with two stones or one stone, but you might as well just cut the time of each in half and you get better anyway. So it doesn't make any sense, even from a time saving standpoint. But for lessons on how to actually structure these workouts, how to structure that cardio, go down in the description and join my newsletter, and you'll start getting some updates and some lessons on how to actually do that. Now, if you found this video enlightening, of course, hit that like button and of course, subscribe.